Good morning, good afternoon and good evening whereabouts you're watching us today, and welcome to the Flux Motorsport Spring Special event. We're coming to you from the Nürburgring on what is quite a beautiful, although partially cloudy day here in Nürburgring. My name's Murphy. I'm going to be taking you through what is going to be a very tricky circuit indeed for our cars today. We are, of course, running some DTM classics in the Group A category. And joining me inside the box, I have both Lecky 2000 and the console. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon, mate. How you doing? How you getting on? This is
Good afternoon.
Something a little bit different, eh?
Yeah, it's going to be a real challenge. We are, of course, dedicating this one to the late, great Sabine Schmitz. We're running it as a testimonial for the world definitely lost one of the biggest smiles in motorsport and an absolute legend around this circuit. So in dedication to Sabine, we're going to be taking these guys around the green hell in nothing but German DTM classics. And we've got
not transit vans this time, though, Murphy. Not transit vans.
Not a transit van or a Jag in sight, but it's going to be a real challenge inside them. We've got quite a bit of a mix, mainly Audi V8 Quattros and Merc 190e Evos, but we have also got a single BMW, I think, inside there in the form of O'Brien. He's decided that he's going to brave the Bimmer for this one, and we're currently just watching CDN Trooper, who is of course our GTE champion from season 1, just taking it out. He's the first guy out on track, and with 20 minutes of qualifying, they're not going to have many qualifying laps to get down on this. 20 minutes worth of qualifying, then a 45-minute race in this semi-final event, and then that will prep us up nicely for next Sunday's grand final event. The winner will, of course, be receiving some customised Flux Motorsport merchandise sent over to them wherever they are in the world. So remember to set that one in your calendar for the grand final that will be coming at you at the same time, which is 3 p.m. GMT plus 1, which is the current UK time zone, which is around about 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're all set up. I've not been able to see the many of the practice lobbies for these ones. I'm not sure about you boys that are joining me inside the commentary box. Have you been able to get any lowdown on the drivers so far?
I have from my side. I mean, my experience around Nürburgring, as you know yourself, Murphy, is somewhat speckled with the practice that we've had with the Renaults previously, which we did as a killer competition, if you remember, was one of our previous events. But in these cars, I think the guys are trying to aim for around about under the 9:15. I think is what we're trying to aim for around the most part. But I've seen times that are down as low as 9:04 on the time trials for the combined circuit. So I think anywhere in between those times, I think you've got a good 10-second variance there for some of the quickest guys. If you consistently get somewhere between 9:05, 9:15, I think you're in with a good show.
Well, worth noting, I've been trying to keep it sort of as secret as possible. I wanted to be surprised by it when we got here. Kind of familiar with these cars. Obviously, I've seen the big lumping Audi that we're looking CDN sort of manhandle round at the minute. I thought that would be the favourite, if not the Mercedes, a little bit slower in the straights, but maybe offering a little bit more grip. So we're interested to see how the sort of two are going to play out across the whole race, really.
Your preference of the two?
Neither. Probably the probably the Mercedes if I had to pick. The Audi's just a bit too much like a canoe for me.
Yeah, I think I'm of the same ilk. It is slightly slower, especially on some of the sort of long straights and the really fast sections of this circuit. But it just feels so tight when it comes through the medium speed twisties and much better under braking, in my opinion. Especially over many laps.
The Audi could only be any better if it had a diesel. If it was built with a diesel engine.
Oh.
Not with an early 90s diesel, I don't think, Lecky.
No, maybe not.
So we're currently tracking round CDN Trooper. We'll stick with him, and then we will switch down to the rest of the field. Let's just bring up the track map and see how much of a gap he's been able to build up so far. Because of the mammoth size of this huge combined circuit, 16.123 miles in total from my latest figures, which is 26 kilometres, or just shy of 26 kilometres if you work in the Euros. And yeah, he's already built up quite a strong lead. Looks as though we've still got... who is that inside the pits? Big Wee Boy, I think. Currently in 13th place.
It is Big Wee Boy, yeah, in the red and white livery there.
What do we think? Is he just going to try and start this one from the back and keep his nose clean, do we reckon?
He's on his way out, I believe. I think he's just been released. Maybe he's just having some technical difficulties there. But he's away now. Just coming out of pit roll, so you'll see him join the track shortly.
Could this be one of those magic setups that you do, just before you head out on track? Fling it together in an instant.
Hey Mum, watch this.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the thing that's worth mentioning is that because it is such a long lap, they're probably going to get only one go at it, maybe two, depending if they get the timing sort of bang on. So it's nearly a one-shot qualifying, really.
Yeah, I think the likes of CDN. Saw a couple of other Audis as well, so that could be Wardy and who else have we got inside there? Maybe Luke Snipes as well. Maybe going out, they might just be able to fit in two. But the benefit of it is we might have seen some of the drivers go out, come back in, and then go out, so even their outlap will get recorded. It'll be obviously quite a high number, but track limits are on for this, so they can quite easily, botch it all up just by exceeding track limits, invalidate that lap, and then they're going to have to maybe just tinker it around for the second attempt.
I think track limits are going to be the least of their problems. There's going to be damage. There's going to be the biggest one. One little mistake, especially in this back section where we're seeing CDN at the minute, those walls are so close. The camera angle doesn't really do it justice, but from inside the cockpit it feels like it's almost like a green Monaco. And
£80 a metre those as well, those barriers. £80 a metre, the stack 3 high.
So the slightest mistake here, picking up a little bit of damage is going to have such a massive effect, especially in the race. If they pick it up in the GP circuit, it's a long way round to get back to the pits to get it repaired. So
just in terms of lap length, just considering how long the lap is on the combined circuit here, do we have an indication of how many actual laps we're going to get throughout this 45-minute race?
My best guesstimate is going to be 5, so long as you keep it
go as far as 5.
Quite clean. I think the quicker of the guys out there are going to be able to complete 4 laps when the time runs out, and they're going to cross the line onto the 5th lap. Which might prove pretty troublesome for anybody. If they do cross over 4 lap 5, it's going to mean 6 laps for some of the guys that might be tailing behind them. Well, not 6 laps, but an extra lap's worth of time to be added in, should I say. I'll tell you what, CDN Trooper looks to be really smooth around this. I think he obviously put the time in. Whether or not it's quick, we'll soon see when the time comes in. But he's certainly keeping.
Love that.
On point with the lines, isn't he? Yeah, great line, great angle that one.
Well on camera.
And this is that big straight, so let's keep an eye on the speedo as he reaches the end of this. Let's see what he can get up to in this old Audi V8 Quattro.
Looks like he'd be knocking on door of 150. I think it could probably be aided with even a small aerodynamic viewpoint would have helped instead of the brick shape that it is.
I don't think any of the cars.
Sorry, Murphy. I was just going to say top speed wise. I think from just talking to the guys in the pit lane as they start to top out towards the bottom of the hill, I think it's around the 254 kilometre mark that they get into around about 255 kilometre mark, just about in the Audi topping out. Whether the Merc can actually get that fast, I'm not sure.
It's just peaking out at 260 kilometres as CDN Trooper now begins his hot lap. We'll flick over to some of the other drivers. Let's see how they're getting on. Let's have a look at TGS in that beautiful Berlin 2000 Merc. I absolutely
Not that we've got
love that
favourites,
car.
eh?
There's
no favourites here.
That is. What a car
It is
that
a good-looking machine, isn't it?
I think you also got that little Beamer. I don't know who's in that little Beamer in the front there, but that's a smart-looking car as well. The little stance works.
That is O'Brien. That is O'Brien. He looks like he's
yeah.
already taken a punt on the front left side, actually. But it's a brave choice, the Beamer. I'm glad that somebody's picked it.
I was expecting a couple of people to roll the dice with it. I think it's got a bit more top end than the Merc, but it certainly wants to chew you up and spit you out much easier than it. I think the lack of that... I mean, look at the obscene rear wing that is on that Merc. Just what an absolute legendary wing that is. Of course, this is it's a Belgium Merc, this one. James May quite rightly pointed out when he didn't actually have a 190E Evo.
Which is funny you say that, because a little known fact, obviously, the Cosworth, which is had some some chatter about it in the chat on the run up to the event. Obviously, the guys very fond of the speed in the Cosworth, can't go around the corners, but it is very quick. And that again is a car that's part Belgian, I believe. It's part British and part Belgian.
Yeah, that's another one of the pigs. If you're ever running in Group A's, it's stupidly fast, the Sierra Cosworth, but my God, it's hard to keep on the black stuff. Once that turbo kicks in, things get very, very wild. Well, Brian, although he's got a big dink in that front left, looks as though he's keeping the BMW in check.
Does look very, very, very under control at the minute. I can see he's been very delicate on the throttle coming through the. I can't think of the name of the corner now. Just going through those Schumacher S's, that next left-hander that he took. Very delicate on the exit with the throttle. So obviously the rear of the car not quite as planted as maybe we need it to be. But for the minute, he definitely looks like he's got a handle on it. He has got a whopping great big Audi about to swallow him up though.
This is where we can sort of see the speed difference between the Audi. Let's see how well he can defend himself, though, as I think we're just about to come into the ring itself.
Yeah, it's Chris Hemsworth that's just trying to go around the outside of him now. So
definitely got that one done. If we jump into the cockpit, let's see how easily that Audi, of course, four-wheel drive pulling away. There you can see the BMW just wanting to get away from him as we join O'Brien inside the cockpit. You can see that front end wanting to understeer, that rear end wanting to go all sorts of sideways. It's going to be a real tricky car. I wonder if he's got regrets for the BMW.
It turns out O'Brien's trying to race a seesaw.
I mean, considering that BMW is renowned for the balance and for the poise with the 50-50 weight distribution, it does seem to be the snappier of the cars in class. I mean, the Merc's a little snappy, but the Beamer takes the biscuit, I think. I just want to see how it does when it comes to this quick left-hander at the end of this straight, because he's almost at top speed here.
You can see him get on the brakes a little bit there just to move the weight to the front. It's relatively well behaved. It is getting proper squirrely under braking though. You can see him sort of having to not able to get fully on the brakes. He's braking much earlier and a lot easier to keep it sort of happy. So that won't help him in terms of gaining time on those Audis. But what is good to see is that he's got that. He's attacking every single curb with that BMW where possible, and it seems to be rewarding him for it. A lot of these Group A cars, you hit the curbs and the car comes away from you, especially in that Mercedes. And this Beamer seems to be more than happy to sort of bounce itself to and from up the track.
Well, you can see the Audi in front. I mean, I'm just taking a little look with the onboard on Chris in front, and Chris is actually sending that. He's catching the guy in front of him. But the Audi's actually braking it before the corner. It's actually losing the traction on the way into the corner. You've only got a modicum of control throughout the corner, and then you're trying to manhandle the power whilst you've got a break of traction on the exit. So you're fully broken all the way through the corner. It really is a sight to behold. Can you imagine if you're a passenger in that Audi? You'd never fully believe the driver of the car was actually in fully control of the vehicle at any time. So.
I'm sure that somebody on the stream will correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it have, is it four-wheel steering as well, that Quattro? I might be wrong, but I seem to remember it.
It doesn't feel like it. Not when I've been in it. It doesn't. They must have switched that off when I got in.
Maybe they were pointing the opposite way. But,
it's four-wheel drive.
It does understeer.
It's got a clever diff.
Maybe it's the diff, but yeah, it's. I can't get round a corner with it very well. It's an understeer nightmare. So these boys have obviously been working pretty hard on the setups. We can see now O'Brien just coming under some pressure from a Merc in the background, and that Merc is really sending it as well. Can see bobbling over the jumps.
These cars they all look fantastic. Through some of these corners you can see them all the wheels are slipping, no grip, just hanging on, pure white knuckle ride from start to finish. This is old school racing, how it should be.
Let's not forget that this is the shortened version of the two events. This is going to be a 45-minute race with the grand final next Sunday at 3 p.m. UK time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be a 2-hour race. Same qualifying setup, but they're going to have to try and keep concentrating with these absolute beasts of a car for 2 hours. Going to be a real tricky situation, and whilst you are joining us as well, please remember that this is a charity event. We are currently trying to raise some money for Macmillan to support the lives of those that are having to deal with treatment, or with the families for those that are going through treatment of cancer. To make that donation, head on over to our website, which is www.fluxmotorsport.com/donate. And when you're progressing through the donation, if you can add the word Sabine into the notes of your donation, we'll make sure that we separate that out to the totalizer, and we'll be making that over to Macmillan after the special event final next week. Back down to it though, just less than 3 minutes to remain of this one. Look at that Merc on the front. Good lord, keeping it together just about.
That was a good catch. That
it was indeed.
It looks like they're just coming over the sort of these little hills, and these little dips are unsettling these cars quite a lot. You see O'Brien having a bit of a wobble as he comes over the top of the hill, and I think we're going to see that quite a lot through this race. I think we'll see it less in the final as people spend a little bit more time ironing their setups out a little bit. Only so much you can do though, I believe, but
looks like really stiff suspension, you know, when they're coming over those bumps, and that might explain the heavy braking as well. That could well, especially when we're seeing them going door to door and really challenging for places, if they do catch some of those bumps, that might be the factor that sends you into I hate to run with raised suspension or softened suspension to counteract it, but sometimes it is just necessary, as we see that Merc obviously just pushing a little bit too hard there, and having to slow down to make sure that they still get the lap in.
He's done well to keep it out the barriers there, really. That looked like it was all going south.
Let's have a look over to CDN and his Audi. Let's see whereabouts he is on track, because he should be one of the first drivers to complete. Does look as though he's just coming to the end of the Nordschleife circuit, just about to re-enter the GP. This is going to be crossing the line. It's going to be the first marker as well for actual qualification time. He comes across with a 9:11.
That's a great lap for his out lap, 9:11 though. Like I said, 9:04 to 9:15. You want to aim anywhere between that. Really is a good time. I think the fastest times I was seeing so far was in the 9:09s, but 9:11 is definitely in with a good show.
See if we can find some of the cars up at the front. So it looks as though Spankmeyer comes in into second place in another Audi, 2 seconds off the pace of CDN Trooper. So CDN Trooper looking like he's pretty good to go so far in that pole position spot. Since we've got a few drivers now actually just coming up to the line or about to cross the line. Next up is going to be Wardy, I believe.
Yeah, and then followed by Chris.
Wardy does enough, but it looks as though a mistake has been made, and Chris comes in with a great one. So 9:12 from Chris puts him alongside CDN Trooper on the front row.
And Gigligello's just come in there as well with a 9.37, just slotting in it in 5th spot.
TGS with a 9.32. Dr. Potford in with a 9.18. That's a decent enough lap. That secures 4th place for him. And
a 9.065.
Good lord!
Where has he pulled that from?
That is an outstanding lap.
That from Giona really does mix it up. I wonder if he's going to be able to get anything like that in terms of race pace. He's definitely going to have the advantage. I can't see anybody else that's out on track being able to beat that. So we just switch over quickly to Luke Snipes, who's... I
shouldn't laugh, but that Audi, that for the minute there, that looked absolutely ridiculous. Jumping off the curbs, jumping into the dips.
No, just to remind that obviously there is quite a while left in the qualifying session for the guys that have maybe ran over the track limits or whatever on the and invalidated the lap or invalidated this up next, which is so easy to do around this track. And, you know, you come into the section where Paul Gore's coming in down in sector 3. If you get it wrong here and come out on the outside or just cut one of the corners ever so slightly on the last section, which is such a heavy braking section, your entire next lap was invalid. So I think Paul Gore has got the potential to put a decent lap in here, but I'd like to see what he come in with. Obviously, honourable mention there for Paul Gore being the winner of our last special event.
In style as well.
Indeed,
yeah, he absolutely dominated that winter special event, and he's done pretty well with a 9-minute 12.6. That's enough for 4th spot, so he's going to be the second on the second row. But we've still got Luke Snipes, TTV Giacomo, and Big Wee Boy out on track. Looks as though It's Your Boy Squash wasn't able to get a lap time set. Let's go over to Luke Snipes. I think he's the first of these other drivers.
Yeah, Big Wee Boy as well. Like, was the guy who was I think we were waiting for to just come out the pits. I think that might have been a tactic, you know. When he was going around turn 1 and turn 2 after he'd just come out the pits, he was going around there very, very gingerly. There wasn't really any other cars around him either, which does suggest he was trying to either try something with fuel tactically or try something with tyres and just conserve that car a bit, so potentially he could really run at it on his second lap. So it'll be interesting to see how he does around here. I've not really seen too much of him before, so he's got a while yet to go on this lap.
Yep, Luke Snipes comes across the line, 9:31.450, sticks him right in the middle of the pack for now. 7th place for Luke Snipes. TTV Giacomo, who's definitely been putting in some practice in this one, although the front of his Merc doesn't really suggest it. Running in that British Racing green and bright gold Sorbent 190E, and he's absolutely murdering that red line. Oh, I think he's just part way through the second sector. And now TTV Giacomo, you can see on the right hand side the qualifying countdown timer. There's plenty of time left for those guys out on track for TTV Giacomo and Big Wee Boy.
To give credit to him, it looks like he's made quite an even job of that bonnet, so that's probably not that could be open a little bit.
It's a bit of extra downforce maybe.
Bit of flair on the way. Oh, maybe not.
Maybe not. You can see the front end just struggling a little bit out of the corners, it seems. And then he's found a handbrake in there somewhere. Don't know where. They definitely don't have one, these Group A's, but he's certainly put his foot out for a second.
Modern problems require modern solutions, I think is the phrase.
We see him now gingerly around the carousel. That is going to be one of the key points, especially on this first lap. If we've got a few cars in close contention, you can get 2 cars around there. Ooh. TTV Giacomo is really admiring the greenery around the green hill and struggling to keep it out on track at the moment.
Oh, nearly.
I think he's deliberately chosen that particular livery in a sort of camouflage frame of mind, so we don't actually see him when he's in the grass.
It's not working.
He'll be very, very disappointed maybe when he watches this one.
I have to say though, for albeit a messy lap, I reckon he has a smile from ear to ear inside that helmet.
He was one of the drivers that was most excited when this event was called out. I think the Nürburgring in general, especially the Nordschleife, is one of those Marmite tracks. Especially sort of this side of the Atlantic, we tend to get a lot of drivers very, very excited of it. Whether or not that excitement remained when we said that it was going to be 90s DTMs, I'm not too sure, but TTB Giacomo was definitely happy. And although his lap time probably isn't going to suggest it after the couple of spins that we've seen, as you said, going to have a smile from ear to ear.
Oh, did you say DTM? Giacomo thought you said JDM, and he's just literally, the back end's all the way out.
That's why he's got that handbrake fitted.
Although that last incident doesn't look like it's helped.
That's a lot of barriers that, like I said, it's £80 a metre, they're stacked 3 high, and he's just taken about 15 in a row.
Maybe that's the stat we'll bring at the end of these races, is the total cost to driver from barriers hit. Whoever has the highest bill at the end of it gets some sort of, well, they get a bill. That's what they win.
That's a great real world statistic.
Let's not forget as well that some of the sections of this track are deep within the forest, and I can imagine that it's probably going to cost a little bit more to try and install some Armaco in those very isolated parts of the forest. So yeah, I think today's race could well put us bust us if we did actually have to pay for any of these barriers.
We could stop paying for that cameraman if that helps.
Yeah,
sorry, Big Week Bardo just came in 11th spot. He didn't come across the line there. He's just coming back through the GP section of the track, but 11th spot he got in there. So not quite the tactician that we thought maybe at this stage, but you never know. Could change for the race.
I do wish that qualifying complete countdown timer had moved so I could see what speed that Merc's coming up to, but I think that might be 249.
I've got 136 miles per hour on my screen.
So we're perhaps looking at about 10 miles an hour less than the Audi maybe in this gear setup.
And saying
unfortunately, in the cockpit of the Mercedes, it doesn't actually have a speedo. It just tells me he's currently doing about 8,200 RPM flat out.
I mean, in his defence, he's only going to be driving it as fast as he can go, right? So the speedo really makes no odds. There's no speed limits on most tracks.
That's correct.
He's climbing over all of the curbs. He's paid for his track, he's using it.
Every single yard.
13th he got with that lap. So it was clean. It certainly didn't look clean.
No, he's obviously slowed down enough, and that does conclude the qualifying session now. We just need to wait for TTB Giacomo and Luke Snipes and Chris M Sport as well to return to the pits, and that will be it. So Giona picks up an amazing pole position out of that one, just shy of 5 seconds quicker than the rest of the field. CDN Trooper also looking pretty sharp. Chris 94 M Sport not too far away, as is Pogo, Spankmeyer as well, in and around that region of the 9-minute 11 to 9-minute 13. Let's have a look at the grid for today's 45-minute race. Giona, the Italian driver, coming out in pole position, and those sector times look absolutely hoon-worthy. Sector 1, Sector 2 making up most of the time. CDN Trooper in second, our Canadian driver, 9 minutes and 11 seconds from him. Chris 94 M Sport not too far behind CDN Trooper, and Pogo Mojo in fourth place with a 9-minute 12.6. Spankmeyer in fifth with the 9:13.3, and Dr. Potford just less than 5 seconds behind him in the Merc. So the quickest of the Merc drivers with Dr. Potford. Luke Snipes in 7th place, managed to get it hooked up in the end, and around about a second quicker than TGS Unbound in 8th position. Wardy in 9th in the Audi, with Jiggly Jello in 10th. Once I put my teeth in, the American driver with a 9:37, dead almost. Big Wee Boy in 11th place, late to get out of the pits, but managed to make the Merc work for him in the end. O'Brien in 12th, with TTV Giacomo in 13th. And it's your boy not setting a lap time for that one, who's going to be starting at the very back of the pack.
That could be a bit of a tactical decision there, starting from the back. Maybe expected a bit of first lap carnage to unfold, and wants to sort of just pick his way through it. But it's a bold strategy.
Certainly is. It's going to be real tricky with all those cars in front of you, especially when unexpected incidents might occur ahead of you. But the grid is now lined up. The 2 minutes countdown has begun, and they'll be brimming those tanks with fuel, I can imagine. Setting up that pit strategy, I can imagine that damage repairs are going to be on, and they're going to really work hard at keeping their nose clean for at least the first half of any of these laps, because it's a whole long way to go if you do pick up damage, especially on the GP circuit. You've then got to navigate the whole of the Nordschleife with damage on. So Giona finishes, and we've just got a absolute meze of Audi V8s in the front of the grid, so I'll run through them quite quickly. CDN Trooper in 3rd, Chris M Sport in the number 2 in 3rd place, Pogo Mojo in the number 46 in 4th, with Spankmeyer in the 44 in 5th. Dr. Popford's going to be nice and easy to spot off the line in that yellow and white Merc, and then that's Luke Snipes in the number 45 Audi just behind. TGS in that Berlin 2000, so the only silver Merc that we've got on track, and Wardy in the number 44 Audi V8. Jiggly Jello in the Sorbent Merc, the lime green, the British Racing Green and Gold. Big Wee Boy in the red Merc. O'Brien is the only Beamer out on track, so he should be nice and easy to spot. And TTV Giacomo in the other Sorbent Merc as well. 20 seconds to go, boys. What do we think? Is Giona going to run away with it, or are we just going to see all sorts of action?
Flatpack is out in the chat. He's supporting CDN. I'm going to go for Pogo.
What an amazing start there from both drivers on the front row. Very much away, and we've got CDN Trooper chasing down on the inside. Giona is still in first, and he's got a really, really good start. We'll stick around with Pogo Mojo as we come into the first corner. Looks as though just a little dink there from Chris M Sport. In fact, it was Dr. Potford, I do believe, and looks as though Luke Snipes has had a spin. He's gone all the way down to the back. TTV Giacomo has also joined him right at the back of the pack. They're going to have to get themselves composed and come back swinging for the rest of this 45-minute race. So it's Giona leading to CDN Trooper, with Pogo Mojo in 3rd, Chris M Sport in 4th, and Dr. Potford in 5th in that Merc.
Dr. Potford making a great start there. I think he's got himself well up there. He's just shouting on the back of the leaders there now, and he's right up with them.
It looks like some of the back of this sort of Audi train are struggling with understeer in the first sort of phase of this race. Maybe with the new fuel load, the car not being quite so tail happy, and it looks like Dr. Potford's definitely able to hang on to the back of Chris and Pogo there. They're not just driving off like we saw in qualifying.
So maybe there's TGS as well, just managing to overtake Spankmeyer. So the Audis aren't untouchable. The Mercs definitely have a chance when they're driven right.
Maybe we've ruled them out a little bit too early. I think Giona has already pulled out nearly a 1.5 second gap, and I was going to say half a lap then, but just in the GP section. But if these three Audis in the front here keep fighting, that was going to give Dr. Potford the window of opportunity that he needs. And as we've seen from championship races previous, he's Mr. Consistent on his day. Rarely does he make a mistake, so he'll be looking to collect in on this.
I believe he is the underdog.
Absolutely, yes.
And if you're not familiar with that video, then please do search our YouTube channel for the video Underdog. He's got his own Expo video.
We're on board with him at the moment, Dr. Potford, and we can see that train of Audis just ahead. So that is Chris M Sport, Pogo Mojo and CDN in the close pack, and then you can also just get the rear bumper of Giona as well in the distance as we're coming through the sort of midway point of the first sector of the Nordschleife. Of course, just to remind any of the viewers, whether you're watching for the first time or you're a regular streamer, that we will be prepping for Season 2 of our regular championship formats away from the special event. And if you want to get involved into Season 2, then there's no better time than the present. Just head on over to our website, FluxMotorsport.com, and you'll find a link in there on how to join our Discord server. We'll quickly get you evaluated once we've welcomed you into the community, and then you'll be free to apply to any of the championships that suit your tastes. We have also kicked off our club race events as well, which are being hosted by Wardy and Spankmeyer on a Thursday evening. That's dedicated for anybody that likes to mix it up week in, week out, so you'll be able to get involved in those as well as all of the community races. If you want to keep yourself in a clean lobby, that is the easiest way to do so. Well, Giona still leading. He's managed to build up 2 seconds worth of a lead now, and obviously proving himself as a bit of a Nürburgring master, as we see I think TGS just getting a little bit loose on the exit of that corner just in the background.
We've got a great battle here for second place with Pogo and CDN, I believe. CDN just trying to make a move, but Pogo's inside there, just as they're coming through to the end of the fast sector 1 of the old Nordschleife circuit. So, yeah, these two really go in toe to toe.
Pogo Mojo just running a little bit wide, it seemed. He managed to keep it out of the barriers, but that's going to allow CDN to really pile on even more pressure. Big difference in lines being taken by the two drivers looking between CDN Trooper and Pogo Mojo. Both of them seem to make it work.
So Chris, I think, is just about closing in on the back of these two now. He's getting almost as close as CDN is to the back of Pogo. So if they're not careful, I think Chris is going to try and get involved in the action here. And can you imagine 3 wide on the Nürburgring? I can't imagine that going well.
I can't imagine 3 Audis around the Nürburgring.
We'll see how well it goes. I think they might be patient for a short while, but it's not going to last for long, especially if they feel like they're losing time. The move will definitely be made eventually, I'm sure.
Dr. Poffer's still keeping a tab on these 3. Not quite within striking distance, but definitely there to pick up any mess should it happen.
I think that's what he's hoping for. I mean, if that was you and you were in that Merc, you'd feel that you're a little bit down on power. Certainly going through these quicker sections, like the uphill section, where you've got the V8 in front and it's got so much torque. Oh dear. So yeah, it's not just a matter of time.
Pogo Mojo is now in the barrier. He returns back onto track and he's still held on to the second place position. But we saw both drivers getting loose on a couple of corners through the complex. First it was Pogo Mojo running wide on the left, and then CDN Trooper replaced that for him running wide on the left over the grass and returned to track. I don't think there was any contact.
Dr. Pofford has picked off Chris on the inside onto that. Whilst Pogo and CDN are testing their quattro abilities, Dr. Potford has picked off Chris in the on the inside. Wonder how long he's been able to hold on to it for, though.
Well, we're now on board with Chris 94 M Sports, and we should be able to get a good view of all of the action going up ahead. So that is Dr. Potford up ahead in that yellow Merc with Pogo Mojo and Pogo Mojo and CDN Trooper. Pogo in third place. CDN Trooper now in second. And Dr. Potford's gone. He's managed to just hold it, and Chris 94 M Sport has just managed to avoid. But that's going to see Dr. Potford drop down the running order. He's lost a position as well to TGS Unbound, who's now moved up into 5th place. And Dr. Potford's also going to come under pressure from Spankmeyer as well, I think.
Yeah, I think we have.
TGS is having a wobble as well.
Yeah, I think we have lost a couple of drivers due to a disconnection. So I think we've lost It's Your Boy and Destroyer have both dropped out here. So that is going to let the guys jump up a couple of places anyway.
I think it is worth sort of stressing to those watching who maybe don't or haven't raced these cars, especially on this track. It is not easy. We are sort of poking like fun at our drivers, and they've come to expect it from us three, I think. But anyone who sort of fancies a go at it, I encourage you to try it and just witness for yourself how difficult it actually is to get one of these cars around this track. It's not fair justice on how well these guys are actually doing at the minute.
No, it's difficult to get around this track even at a sedentary speed, and these guys they're flat out. I mean, the pedal is to the metal, and you can see with the way the cars are bounding along, the suspension's taking it.
Unbound, just having a bit of an off there. He did well to hold it off. No major damage, and he's back on track. He's now going to be down into 7th position, I think. But he's just coming under pressure from Spankmeyer as well. Somebody needs to move that sign, don't they?
Just move him 2 steps to the left. Would have done it.
Looks as though Dr. Potford now is also going to drop down the numbers. So he's definitely got the acceleration, but when it comes down onto this straight, whether or not he lost it on the exit of the corner before, and look at that Audi turbo is definitely spooled up, and it's just eaten the Merc.
I did think TGS had quite. I thought TGS looked like he had quite a good run onto that straight then. I thought he was actually going to challenge the Audi for a little bit, but once the Audi found stride, that was the end of that, really.
Yeah, topping out at just around 260, just above 260 kilometres, I think he's Christian in that Audi, so might get a good run.
So it looks as though he's played about with the gear ratios ever so slightly, Spankmeyer, aka Christian, because we did see CDN Trooper, he was topping out around about 248, 249 kilometres, so he's obviously either lowered the car a little bit just to reduce that aerodynamic drag, or more than likely just raised up that final gear ever so slightly. Now I've got 2 Mercs battling it out. Closest drivers on track at the moment with TGS and Dr. Potford. And I've got Spankmeyer just ahead as well.
TGS's car does seem to be on edge. I think is the word. It doesn't seem to be
under braking, definitely yes.
Under braking, even through some of the quicker corners, as we saw just earlier in the lap. It seems as if the rear of the car is getting all kinds of out of shape if he isn't careful. So the drivability of that car probably isn't great, which doesn't help when combined with this track either. So I suspect Dr. Potford will get that done in the not too distant future. And as I say, that Luke is into the pits towards the back of the grid, so that might explain the first lap damage that he maybe picked up.
Let's have a look at this battle that's going on a little bit further down the pack. So this is Jiggly Jello taking on Big Wee Boy. Both 190Es. Big Wee Boy in the red AF Delta. Jiggly Jello in the Sorbent. Looking very much equal to one another at the moment. Just see a little bit of overdrive coming through the corner there. Looked as though Jiggly Jello was going to make a move, but just not able to carry that momentum through. And we've also seen TTB Giacomo as well into the pit. So it looks as though the damage that they picked up within the first lap, contrary to the advice on the GP circuit, has seen them now fall around about a minute and a half back just from the very start. That's in the form of Luke Snipes after his pit stop. It does suggest that he didn't pick up huge amounts of damage, but obviously just enough to really hamper his way through. And it's worth noting as well that this is probably, in fact, it definitely is the hardest track to set a car up for. You've got so much going on with it that you can set yourself up for the first sector. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for the second and third. Also worth noting as well that you've also got about 3/4 of a GP circuit to contend with, so it is that mishmash of road course and circuit combined with all sorts of different factors in it.
Just to jump in there, sorry Murphy, just whilst we've been going through that, there's just been a change for second and third place. So just as we came off the GP section onto the Nordsleeve section, coming into a left-hand corner there, CDN just lost it a little bit on the inside, started to over-rotate, smoked off the back tyres of the Audi, and that just allowed Pogo to just nip through around the outside to what became the inside as he started to go downhill on the on that first quick sector one on the Nordsleeve section there. So we've seen a change there from P3 to P2 for Pogo.
Well, it's worth noting as well that Chris M Sport is right on the chuff of CDN Trooper now, and he's raining down on him.
I think CDN Trooper, from looking at how he was, the amount of speed he was carrying on the long straight, I think he's got no aero and he set that car up really soft to go really, really quick. But it doesn't actually really take the bumps very well.
Off there for CDN Trooper. He's going to lose a few places to both the Mercs of TGS and Dr. Potford.
Yeah, it's just a bit too soft, like I said. It's I think how he's got the car set up, it is quick. It's just not. You can't drive it quite as hard. It's just not quite as tight as you need it to be. Quick though.
When it's facing the right way. There's no good being quick. There's no point being quick going the wrong way, is it?
He was hitting 265 to 268 down the straight, so he's obviously tweaked the final drive. He obviously got the car set up for a lot, to go that little bit more, that little bit extra. But trying to push it there, you're having to to steal something out of his cornering ability. You're having to rob Peter to pay Paul, as they say.
It did look absolutely planted through qualifying though, so maybe it's just not happy with the extra fuel weight in it, and that sort of just unsettled it a little bit.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, we are 15 minutes into the race session here. We haven't spoke about this yet, and I'm going to get my nerd hat on now and start talking about tyres. And I am sorry about this, but some of us nerds do like this. The Audi is really, really going to struggle with front tyres by the end of lap 2. And they're coming towards that time now where the Audi's really going to start overheating its tyres. If the weather stays clear, I mean, looking at the clouds as they are now, it's sparse in terms of clouds. The track's going to be fairly warm, mid-30s to 40s temperatures on the track. So it's going to start eating away at those front tyres, and I think he's really going to struggle towards lap 3 and lap 4. Maybe
and this is why I think you're seeing a number of Mercs and even the Beamer out on track. I think it comes down to both, as both myself and Alex have already stated, that the Audi isn't always to everybody's taste, despite it having a bit of overspeed. But tyre management is definitely going to be crucial, especially in the 2-hour grand final. Trying to manage those tyres, you're definitely going to be making a pit stop. It's how many you're going to be making and whether or not the tyres are going to give up on your mid-corner, especially through some of these almost flat-out corners. I think most of them do have a lift on the high speeds in these cars. But you are torturing those tyres, and you've got all 4 of them with drive, so the Merc is definitely going to be a little bit kinder for you around the long run.
I think you're right, yeah, and I think the pit stops are another good point that you've mentioned there. Just as I'm noticing the gap between Spikemeyer and Chris just closing up between 3rd and 4th. I'm not sure whether that's because Chris has picked up a minor knock or they were very, very close, that battle for 2nd place all the way down to 6th place for a long time. Just wondering whether he's picked up any damage, and Spikemeyer just taking a bit of a nudge there actually. So Spikemeyer's looked like he's just picked up a little bit of right-hand side damage from his in-car view. So the guys in 3rd and 4th still battling it out, but I think pit stops are going to start playing a large part in this now. 1 or 2 more knocks like that from either of the drivers, and it's going to be a long cry from the 905s and 906s that they're going to want to get getting, and they're going to be talking more 9 minute 30 to 10 minutes. Big difference it makes you get damage around here, I think.
The outlap off the start line, 9 minutes 19 from Giona, which is actually quicker than some, in fact more than half of the field's qualifying
That's
lap
right,
time,
yeah.
which shows the outright pace of Giona, and that's got to come down, maybe down to the car setup, but for me that's all about track knowledge. I'm sure if we spoke to Giona, we would find out that he's put in some time over this, and I mean, let's knock it back to the lady whose testimonial this is. I don't think there's many people out there that have put as many laps in around this Nordschleife circuit than Sabine. But Giona obviously knows these corners well, knows when to push. And look at the CDN Trooper now, having a little look up the inside of Dr. Potford. You can see where he loses time out of the corners. The Merc obviously just able to carry a little bit more speed through, not scrubbing it as much. And that'll be the understeer effect of the four-wheel drive. But then once that turbo spools up, you can see CDN Trooper able to come right back at those two Mercs ahead.
But none of them holding back here. I mean, the 5th, 6th and 7th place are all at full send. They are catching Christian up, they are catching Spankmeyer up, as you can see him on screen, in 4th spot. And you know, from his viewpoint, there's only 3 or 4 seconds to the two cars in front that are getting right up with each other now. So there's battles all over the field here.
Yeah, we flick over to Chris 94 M Sport and Pogo Mojo chasing down 2nd and 3rd position. And Chris 94 M Sport looks as though he's got a little bit of overspeed compared to Pogo Mojo, just able to claw up on the gap ever so slightly. We can see it coming down. It's less than a quarter of a second now as they come into the braking through the S's. And into this heavy braking section, this is so easy to lose it. Both drivers look pretty well planted, but 94 M Sport is just getting ever closer, just coming up to pulling alongside Pogo Mojo. And let's see whether or not he's got the drive into turn 1 of the regular Nürburgring GP circuit.
It looked like Chris opted to not take as much curb on that final sector, which gave him a little bit of better run into the GP circuit. As we see, really challenging Pogo. And see how, watch now, it takes a much wider line to get the best exit that he can. Sort of compared to Pogo, who's opting for a more traditional racing line, like you'd expect. Chris really maximising the exits as best as he can. So maybe he's got his car set up slightly differently, which favours that sort of straight line run. But still a little bit more work to do, I think.
Oh, TGS Unbound is into the pits. He was in 7th position. He's just dropping down the order now as Jiggly Jello comes past him. Whether or not that's... I mean, I didn't see any major damage. I didn't see TGS really take an impact, but maybe it happened right towards the end. We may well have just missed it, but that's going to see him drop right down the running order now.
I think TGS he's got a decent setup if you're only sending the car at 90%. If you're sending it 100%, eventually it just looked like it wants to snap on you. When he was coming over some of the sections where there's a slight bump and the car lifts it, the suspension wants to lift and reseat itself where the car slams back on the track, it just looked very tight on those sections, almost like it wanted to snap out as soon as he landed. So maybe that was something to do.
That TGS is now out of the race. We've seen a retirement from him. So that puts Luke and Mr. Ward up into 10th and 11th place as Wardy comes into the pits as well. Looks to be getting some damage repairs, and puffs of smoke are starting to show from these Audis near the front. Pogo Mojo locking up the front right and rear right, it seemed. Under braking there. Let's give our hats off. We'll go over to him ever so slightly. We'll keep our eye out on that battle, but look at the distance that Giona has been able to pull over. Nearly 13 seconds in just 3 laps, and the cars behind him immediately aren't going in any means slow. 9 minutes 12 was the last lap out, and you can see him almost getting air over that little over that crest. Giona absolutely flying here. Get back to the action though for 2nd and 3rd position. This is though Pogo's got a little bit of damage to the bumper, the front bumper of that Audi V8. Doesn't look to be holding him back too much though. He's still keeping a decent amount of pace.
Yeah, just while you're on board with these two, I'm just trying to keep an eye on the battle that's going on just behind with CDN and Dr. Potford. CDN obviously jumped all the way back down to 8th position at one point. Would have been even further down if we'd not had disconnections and a retire. But it does look like he's catching up to Dr. Potford now, but looks like he's taking Dr. Potford's usual approach of sit behind a driver and just wait, just try and match their speed, make sure that you keep your lines clean, that you get your corners right, and that you're not oversending it, and that little over twitch on the way into a corner, that the little difference between making it round the corner and absolutely murking yourself into the barrier. I think he's taking that approach now, so it doesn't look like he's putting the moves on. He's certainly just sticking with him. So that battle for 5th and 6th just being maintained there.
We are just coming on the on-track now. Dr. Potford, the CDN trooper, is trying to make his moves up and claw up that gap. It's been a good battle between Dr. Potford and CDN. Both of the drivers making small mistakes, which has seen them drop away from the front pack. Oh, as we see Dr. Potford just rally driving for a brief moment there, really cutting the edge off that apex and running straight across the grass, but no harm, no foul. Didn't even touch a barrier, so well controlled by the good doctor.
It does appear that the only person who's managed to get a time penalty is Pogo, I think, from the screen I can see. Everyone else, albeit they are sort of definitely using the dirt, do seem to be getting away with it.
Well, I think that's the only battle on track where actually, if it was to remain as it is now, with the gaps the same as they are, that's the only penalty where it would actually make a difference, and that 1 second would make all the difference, as it were, at a minute. So you want to try and make sure he doesn't pick up any more.
Does look as though Chris 94 M Sport was just having a little look up the outside of that corner.
He's sniffing.
He's really licking his chops, as it was, to try and take that position.
I think that the phrase I've heard before is he's sharking and the fin is up.
So Chris 94 M Sport in the number 2, Pogo Mojo in the number 46 Audi, and they're looking very evenly matched. So a little dab of break there from Chris. Pogo decided to run it flat. Sorry,
I was going to say it's going to come down to who's going to be the bravest, I think, in this little matchup. And for the minute, it looks like it's going to be Pogo through that section. Maybe Chris just biding his time for that long straight they've got later in the lap.
Very close on the exit of that hairpin. Very close indeed. And
is that Spunkmeyer in the background sort of starting to close up as well?
It is indeed. He's not too far away. Around about 1.3 seconds at the moment off the back of Chris 94 M Sport. Does look as though it's closing in as well. We've also got TCB Giacomo has retired from the event. Well, our driver list for the final is getting shorter and shorter, it seems.
The Green Hell is claiming more victims.
We've got another battle out there as well between 8th and 9th place, I believe it is, between O'Brien and Big Wee Boy. O'Brien obviously remembering that BMW, and he looks like he's taken some damage. Well, it looks like he's taken some damage all around, but most notably, square on the back of the car as well. So it looks like, if anything, he's been hit by an Arctic. But it certainly doesn't look like spin-related damage at the rear quarter. Let's put it that way. So whether there's any stewards' inquiries from that, I'm not sure. But it doesn't seem to be able to get it into 5th, screaming flat out in 4th gear at the top of the hill there. So I think he's struggling in that car. Maybe he's going to want to be one of the first ones to try and come in the pit. Maybe 20 minutes left in this session. It might actually be worthwhile. If you were going to pit, I wouldn't leave it much later.
Wonder if he's just going to stick it out. We saw a big mistake from Pogo Mojo. He managed to keep it pointing in the right direction, but Pogo maybe just pushing himself a little bit hard, trying to stem off these two drivers. It has allowed Chris and Christian to really close up on the back, and Chris 94 M Sport is really turning up the heat now. You can see him looking up the inside. He definitely making his presence known in the rear view mirror of Pogo Mojo. and they are starting to close up ever so slightly. The gap has shortened slightly to Giona. It's now just over 12 seconds. It was around about 12.8 at some points. So they're obviously pushing hard, these boys in second, third and fourth.
And this is where I think we'll see Chris make the move now. He'll get the toe and try and get it done either hopefully before the braking zone into this sort of final turn complex, but you can see that how much of an effect the toe is having. As we pull alongside, it looks like Spunkmeyer's going to be able to get up and involved in this action as well, off the back of both cars. Spunkmeyer could potentially be the big winner in all of this.
Chris has taken second place. Spunkmeyer had to adjust there for a late change in direction from Pogo Mojo. He'll be saying some choice words inside the cockpit of that car.
265 on the speedo there from Spunkmeyer who is coming through. So how he's managed to get that car to go quite that fast is beyond me. I think he's throwing components out of it. Yes, cheated.
It's the pre-race dump, isn't it? That's where you're talking those extra couple of kilometres. And Spunkmeyer's now moved up into third place, but he gets collected by Pogo Mojo. Pogo Mojo just not really being aware of the car moving up on the outside line. It doesn't matter though, no harm, no foul. Looks as though they've managed to retain their positions.
The Audis are pretty sturdy. They should probably get away with that with no damage at all. I expect if there is damage, it'll be menial, nothing to worry about.
That four-sprung dirt technique, isn't it? Dying to jump into park life for a second there. I'll leave it.
You know I love it when you speak dirty to me, Murph.
So Giona has really sort of fallen away from the pace. Now lapping 9-minute 15s. That's potentially the tyre wear effect of pushing so hard. It's not going to really matter too much. We're in the final 15 minutes of this one. It does look as though it's going to be a 5-lap race. And he's got plenty of time to play with, just provided that they don't fall off the plateau as it was, and he ends up getting acquainted with a wall or two. But Giona's run really well so far without this one. Built up a very early lead, continued to build upon it. Looks as though he's just lifting off the pace ever so slightly now.
And just to go back to that little turn one bump, Bruce piping up in the chat saying it might make it more aerodynamic.
Well, do. You never know.
That could have been the little dink that they needed. Talking of little dinks, what? That BMW has definitely been adjusted. Didn't come out of the shop looking like that, I hope.
No, but saying that, he's doing well. He's keeping up with Big Wee Boy. I mean, I've kept an eye on this battle. I mean, they're both making minor mistakes, but they're both trying to keep it as smooth and consistent as they can. They've both got decent awareness. They're both trying to pace match with each other. This is good racing between these two. I've enjoyed this battle.
Yeah, we've missed quite a bit of it on the stream. Lecky is watching from his own little special booth, keeping up with the COVID restrictions.
He smells.
He's well more than 2 meters away from us at any given time. But it does look as though it's a pretty solid battle between the two. We've flicked over to it now and again. I think it's probably going to take a bit of a late lunge from O'Brien to really get past him. Looks as though Big Wee Boys, in fact there's that lunge straight away up the inside. It looks as though O'Brien ran a little bit deep and they switched positions. So Big Wee Boy ran a bit deep and they've switched positions. O'Brien now up into 8th, Big Wee Boy falling down into 9th and losing a little bit of momentum. We'll have to build that right back up. Have a look at Pogo Mojo though in the battle with Spunkmeyer. Looks as though Pogo Mojo getting up into every one of those 3 mirrors inside Spunkmeyer's car. You see him darting left, darting right, sticking right up the rear bumper.
I've noticed when watching with Pogo, especially when he's battling with another driver, Pogo seems to be much better when he's either got distance in front of him or distance behind him. Actually, when you put him next to another driver or it's in close proximity, and I don't think this is because of a nervousness or anything like that, but the ability to count for the other car, maybe due to lag, maybe due to neck hold, maybe due to a skill and experience, but there just seems to be something where Spankmeyer, when he's going alongside or when he's fighting it and battling with him, just seems to be a little bit more confident when he's going toe to toe, doing the dogfight, as it were. With Pogo seems to be better in this position where he's following, and he seems to make time up like this. I think he then struggles once he gets there in order to try and get clear past, unless he moves on. Just takes a tag there.
Big dink into the wall. I think it comes down to aggression, to be honest. Like, looking at Pogo and watching him in other races, seems to be a super aggressive driver when he's tailing. Quite aggressive on the defence as well. He's got no qualms about trying to block through the braking zone. He's quite shrewd in that way, that he'll choose his line beforehand. But as we see.
Oh,
at least the car parked up on ours.
That was a code brown.
And it's somebody that has left the building.
Chris is disconnected.
Chris M Sport. Oh dear, oh dear. He was running so well as well in second place. We saw that he just managed to finally get past Pogo Mojo, and looks as though potentially a disconnection from the lobby. But Pogo Mojo now up into second place, Spankmeyer in third position.
That's really unfortunate for Chris there. I mean, obviously he's completed a good amount of the race distance, but nothing can give you that second place back, as it were. I mean, in terms of proceeding through to our final, we'll come back to you with the standings once we've totted those up, but that will affect his overall start position. His overall finish position, even if he does get some points awarded. So he's going to be gutted with that.
What's interesting between these two is that Spunkmeyer seems to be able to just apply, as you were talking about a little bit earlier, just constant pressure to Pogo. He seems to be able to follow him almost exactly behind him for the whole lap. Which I think makes it, when you say sort of Pogo defends quite aggressively, I think he has to, because of where Spunkmeyer is putting his car. The overtaking opportunities are always on, basically.
Yeah, definitely a competent driver, and he moves up the inside. They both come together, and it's a heavy contact with the wall as well. Both drivers are definitely going to come off worse there. It looked as though as the slowdown has just caused absolute carnage, it seems. Not sure what has gone on there, but Pogo Mojo has definitely gotten away with it. He now is in second place. I can imagine this is going to be a visit to the pits, though. Is he going to be able to just stick it out and use the lead that he's got?
It's one lap left. I mean, for the sake of one lap, is it worth returning to the pits? The drivers will see that and think, do I stick this out? How bad is the damage? It's difficult to tell from this side.
I think that's going to be a trip to the pits, and I think the stewards might be having a little wander down to the pit box there and having a word in someone's ear hole.
Oh, I can see they're getting the clipboard in the form right now.
That was a very very bizarre incident. It looks like Spunkmeyer came alongside and they bumped doors and then just couldn't sort of detach themselves. And then both of them parking on track side by side, giving CDN nowhere to go. CDN potentially could be the big winner here if he's managed to get out of that without any damage at all. He should be able to close the gap up to Pogo relative ease. Pogo misses that whole front of his car. Yeah.
Let's have a look. I'll bring up the speeder. Let's have a look at what Pogo Mojo is able to do here. In fact, yeah, he's definitely
down on pace.
He was down on power, yeah. 255, 256 at the end of the straight last time. I think that potentially he is able to make that up in the corners, though. But it's a balance, like you said, setting the cars up for Nürburgring. It's so difficult because you need that good balance between suspension, the right amount of acceleration, and still a final drive when you get there.
Oh, bloody camera. It does look as though CDN's going to be able to make this happen this time around, though. Into the start, into the long straight towards the back of the Nordschleife. And job done with ease there from CDN Trooper.
I mean, it's not quite visible to maybe some of our newer viewers, or if you're just tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. But yeah, to those that know these guys a little bit more familiar, these guys are that were just involved in the contact, primarily are staff members, and certainly Pogo and Spankmeyer getting involved in that battle for second place. We may well have a fight in the staff room after this. So.
Just trying to keep an eye out. It does look as though Pogo is about to come under pressure from Spankmeyer once again. You see him all over the back of him, and it's Pogo Mojo into the pits. He obviously sustained far too much damage to be able to stick it out there, and that moves Dr. Potford up, who is keeping his nose completely clean, it seems, in that Merc 198. And he moves up into fourth position. Jiggly Jello might just be able to build up on a place here from Pogo Mojo as well. Meanwhile, as all of that has unfolded, Giona has now been able to build up an additional sort of 10 seconds, now leading the race by 25.5 seconds to CDN Trooper in second place.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, there is no traffic at the front. It's always the best place to be.
There's not much traffic anywhere else on track, it seems, as well. I mean, it's very, very well spread out.
I think with a 26-mile combined circuit length, I think, to be honest, with the racing that we've had, it's been super close for so long. I mean, normally you would expect the cars to space out quite a bit more, and especially considering some of the unfortunate disconnections that have occurred as well. I would have expected the guys to be much more spaced out much sooner, but they seem to have done a good job at setting the cars up here and trying to get reasonably consistent times, certainly comparably to each other. It's made for some really interesting racing. I've really enjoyed this qualifying event.
I think it's massively unfortunate for Chris M Sport to get that disconnect, but yeah. I think I completely agree. 4 or 5 cars, all within sort of 4 or 5 seconds maximum of one another. There's still not too much behind them. CDN has since built up a big gap after Pogo Mojo's had to come into the pits. He's since out of the pits. He's returned onto track in 5th position. But yeah, tight battles throughout it. I think if it wasn't for some of the mistakes from some of the guys very early on in the opening 2 laps and the resulting retirements and potential disconnects, we'd have had some really close racing in different packs on this grid.
I think you could go even. Sorry, I think you could even go as far as to say you might have even had some close finishes, even 4-4 finishes, across the finish line, which is almost unheard of in the Nürburgring, isn't it? So.
Well, we're not going to rule that out, because it does look as though Spankmeyer and Dr. Potford, albeit a little bit sloppy through those S's, are looking very much equally matched. We will have Spankmeyer. He is obviously damaged. You can see from the visuals there on screen, whereas Dr. Potford is looking pretty neat and tidy. Spankmeyer is also going to be suffering from front tyre degradation as well from the Quattro system, whereas Dr. Potford maybe just lighten up the rears ever so slightly, or maybe running down on tyre wear at the rears. Big wee boy is into the pits. That might see him drop down into last place depending on how far off Ward he is. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. So that moves Luke Snipes up into 8th position.
Sorry, just to give a bit of an honourable lap mention there as well for Spankmeyer on the previous lap, setting the 9:12, which is currently up there with the fastest lap, 9:12.0 from Giona, when he put that flying lap in. Would have been on his second lap, but yeah, the last lap there from Spankmeyer, 9:12.693, which is only half a second off, just over. So a good lap there from Spankmeyer. I think he's possibly had one of the better drives out of that bunch, getting caught up in that bunch. Certainly seems to handle the pressure a little bit better. Also, his car certainly seems to handle the pressure a little bit better. CDN and Pogo, they're just their car's looking a little bit more loose and just a little bit more forgiving in some sections, but ultimately it doesn't quite have the lap time in that I think Spankmeyer's does. So great lap there from him.
As we continue to watch this on-track battle, just to remind any viewers that may have missed our plug earlier on, this is the Sabine Schmidt's testimonial. We are trying to raise funds for Macmillan Cancer Support, and whatever you can spare, we would gladly love to push on to what is a fantastic charity, helping out those individuals and families that are having to deal with what is an awful disease. To donate, head over to fluxmotorsport.com/donate, I think is the link. Is it, Lecky?
That is correct.
If you can just add the word Sabine into the notes when you place your donation, that will then separate it from our regular donations. Also, don't forget to check out our shop at fluxmotorsport.com/shop, or just go to the main website. You'll find the links to it there, where you can pick up all of your warranted Flux Motorsport merchandise. And whilst you're at it, if you want to join the Discord and get yourself involved into Season 2's championships that we've got lined up starting off in a few weeks' time, then you'll find the link to do so in there as well. 2 minutes remaining inside this one. We're on our final lap, I do believe, for Giona. Let's just have a look where our race leader is. We will get back to that action. So, yep, it's definitely more than 2 minutes away from the line as we get back to Spankmeyer and Dr. Potford. Spankmeyer doing very well to keep that battered Audi. Or in fact, maybe I spoke too soon. Just deciding to let Dr. Potford through into third position.
It looks as though it'd almost be better if that bumper would fall off.
It's like a wobbly tooth, isn't it? You just want to get a
yeah.
bit of string around it and get it on the door.
Just find one of these bit of alcos, just dig that, get that off.
Expecting it to lock into the 2 front tyres, and then all of a sudden you've got no steering.
I've heard of it. A piece of string and a car door works for that really well.
Pretty sure I've seen a Lamborghini Countach on the Jackass days, and just a little bit wide.
I was about to say
more blood with that method. I do remember the video, yes.
I was about to say Dr. Potford. I said it at the beginning was gonna end up doing well here just for being consistent, and it looks like if he can get this together, he could potentially get himself a podium spot.
Underdog though, it's not wrong number. It's also called it. It's he definitely. He's one of those that's unsuspecting, unassuming, comes from behind. It's not
that was a great move.
There he goes. Look at
awesome
that.
Move from Dr.
Sorry to interrupt you, Leg. Proper crossover move there through. What, I'm not even going to try and pretend what corner name or number that was.
The Hawkins Slugger.
It was brave, a definite brave. Throwing it left and right and just keeping on the power. And it's maybe too much.
He's overdrove it.
He's eating it. Absolutely eating it.
Well, that's the concourse
dog's dinner.
He's not going to pass the concourse session at the end of it. That car was spotless as well, all the way through. And just as the countdown timer has run out, Dr. Potford bins it and gifts third place to Spankmeyer. Go over to our leader. Let's find out whereabouts he is.
Now that is a spotless Audi.
A little scuff on the front. Tiny little scuff on the front left, but I mean, hats off to the Italian. Giona has absolutely dominated here. He's only got 13 seconds now. We've seen it as high as 25. He's just slowed his pace down a little bit, potentially down, and you can see there a little bit of damage down the left-hand side. He's obviously got caught up in a barrier at some point.
Poor, very poor.
It has been a flawless race from him, really. Got off the line super quick and then just held it all the way through for the full 45 minutes, and definitely going to be the one to watch when it comes down to next week's final.
Yeah, great drive from him there. That Audi looked absolutely planted through that last section, and unfortunately didn't get quite the airtime that he probably deserved. You can see the big flash of lights he comes across the start-finish line there. Great drive from him, well deserved.
Apologies if you watch this back, Giona, for your lack of airtime, but it's just been too much action going on behind you, and you've been too far away to warrant the airtime, I think. But as I say, flawless race as CDN Trooper now just comes up and across the line to finish up in second place.
Yeah, he can console himself with a trophy if he wins it.
Indeed, yeah. I think for some of the things that we usually capture on camera or curse with the commentator, he's probably glad that he didn't get that much airtime. But Spankmeyer now comes across the line in third position.
He brings that bumper with him.
Yeah, but I thought he was going to leave that for one of the marshals.
There's obviously some sort of cashback scheme.
Yeah, it's additional costs. I mean, I'm telling you, they charge you through the nose here at Nürburgring. If you leave debris on track, if you touch the barriers, if you look oddly at one of the officials, it's all of its costs.
That Mercedes is doing like an accordion impression. What's happened to that?
That is a real pug of a Merc, isn't it? Good Lord!
If he wasn't careful, it looks like he's dented the roof. It looks like he's sitting slightly hunched now to fit.
There is not a panel that is straight anymore.
Just to put a note as well, somebody else who's not had a lot of airtime is Luke Snipes, another one of our regular drivers, putting in a 9:36 there with a damaged Audi, which is it's not one of the quickest lap times, but it's certainly considerably quicker than the previous lap times that was coming in from people from even fourth place downwards. So potentially we might see Luke come back in race 2 and try and put in a better performance. I think quite a few of these guys are still going to get qualifications due to the disconnection. So
at risk of jinxing it, I think Wardy and Big Wee Boy are having a final dash for the finish.
We join up on Big Wee Boy. Brian's Jiggly Jello's just about to cross the line. O'Brien's ahead of all of these. Can't see Wardy.
It might have just been my timing board giving me the slip. It looked like he came down to like a 4-second gap, and then it was being chipped away.
It's about 4 seconds, but it's that twisty around the Nürburgring. You just can't see him in the trackside camera, but he is there or thereabouts. There's about 3.5 to 4 seconds. So if he gets a wriggle on and stays out the barrier, which he's currently not managing to do, but they potentially could try and catch Big Wee Boy here, and there could be a battle for ninth places to come across the line. One spin though from either of the guys though, and you can
see Wardy just in the background behind the bushes there. So I wonder whether Big Wee Boy is going to have enough. Is going to have enough in the straights to actually hang on to this. This is going to come right down to a photo finish. Look, you can see that gap getting smaller and smaller. That bloody sign.
Yeah.
Next week I'm going to take a drive out there and I'll move that.
It's how much damage that Audi's got compared to how much damage the
here it comes.
Yeah, so it's 3 seconds as we get onto the straight. Let's see what it is at the end of the straight.
No, he can't do it. He can't do it.
It's almost down to 2.5 seconds. That Audi is definitely coming. It'll be a mammoth drive in the final lap. I can almost hear Wardy's teeth grinding from here.
I can almost hear him. I can almost hear him just sellotaping. He's taking putting both feet onto the accelerator. Do not press that brake, whatever you do.
He's gonna send it here. This could be bad.
It's less than a second now. The Audi is definitely
he closed it right up.
Oh, there's a little bit wide there.
He might do this over the line. He's going to be a photo finish.
Pedal.
He's done it. He has. He's just about done it. I'm sure he has.
Oh,
be happy with that. He will. Well done, Mike.
So, congratulations to all drivers. This is the finishing positions out on track. Giona in the end with almost 16 seconds lead to CDN Trooper, who finishes in second place, with Spankmeyer coming up in third place. Round about 41 seconds away from Giona there. Giona with a flawless drive. Dr. Potford ended up with a battered and bruised Merc after a coming together with himself right on the very last lap. Finishes up in 4th place, but a really good drive from Dr. Potford. He's going to be one to watch for the final as well. Let's not discount Pogo Mojo. 1 second penalty being applied, but he had a big coming together with Spankmeyer. Ended up having to pit on the second to last lap, and that's why he finds himself almost 2 minutes away from the leader, with Jiggly Jello just 1 second or so behind him. In fact, 0.6 of a second in the end, so good race from Jiggly Jello as well. O'Brien in 7th place, ahead of Luke Snipes in 8th, with Wardy just coming across the line with a photo finish. You can see there the split between them. It's less than a tenth between Wardy and Big Wee Boy, who finishes up in 10th place altogether. TGS Unbound, TTV Giacomo both retired from that one, and we had a few disconnects as well in the form of Chris M Sport. But other than that, what a day at the ring.
Oh, indeed. What a race. I mean, from start to finish, in qualifying, I was a little bit dubious. Thought maybe we might see one or two little bits of bunching, and then it's all got a space out. But what a great set of racing from the lads.
It's going to be a nice little setup for next week's final, where if that's what happens in 45 minutes, I think a 2-hour run is definitely going to change the flavour of it completely. I think we're going to see a lot more pit stops, definitely. The pitting for damage is going to make a massive impact. But more importantly, are those Audis going to be able to hang on to the tyres for a full 2 hours?
Not a chance.
Well, if you're watching this on catch up or if you're watching it on live, let us know your predictions for the grand final for next week. Would love to know. We know we've got a firm favourite in the form of Giona, but is he going to be able to pull it out for 2 hours worth of action, or are we going to see those Audis having to come in more than once for pit stops? He definitely seemed to lose his pace towards the end of that race, and it's certainly going to be a pretty tricky one. We will also be debuting one of the new members of our commentary team for the grand final. We'll introduce DJ Redders to you next Sunday, 3 p.m. UK time, which is around about 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But other than that, I think it's just time to sign off, boys. If you would like to make any donations to Macmillan Cancer Support, remember that website is www.fluxmotorsport.com/donate. Just remember to add Sabine into the notes section when progressing through your donation.
That's right. And any of the guys that want to get involved in our special events, or just generally involved in our clean racing championships, or any of the other services that we do, which are primarily free, then come on down to fluxmotorsport.com and hit the driver sign up button. But other than that, yeah, it's been great, and thanks very much for having me, Murph. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, thank you very much, boys. I think all in all, a decent spectacle here at the ring, and plenty more where that came from next week.
Well worth an afternoon out. But as you said, thanks for having us, Murph. And I'm quite looking forward to next week.
Should be good.
Definitely. Be sure to tune in for that one. If you want to make it a little bit easier, then hit that bell icon on YouTube right now. And if you don't want to get notified, just hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified if you're on the app whenever it comes on there. But other than that, from myself, from Alex and Lecky, thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the week ahead. Get some sunshine on your skin, and we'll see you back at the ring next week for the grand final. Take care.